Hi everyone, so today I'm talking about this new, I don't know how new it is, newer MAC foundation. It's the MAC Studio Radiance Serum Powered Foundation, and this is in shade NC5. So I will link to my previous video on Studio Fix Fluid in NC5. When that came out, I was very excited. A lot of the people that were too pale to wear NC10 were very excited. We're like, ooh, they made a lighter shade. Finally, they're getting with the program. Except in that formula, it was actually darker than NC10. It had like way stronger golden undertones. I was so confused and disappointed. When I saw this on Ulta site, I had points that were going to expire because I just haven't been buying makeup. So those Ulta points expire if you don't use them when you're not in one of the higher point tiers. I looked at the swatches that MAC had on their site, and this actually looked paler than NC10. So I thought, oh, for sure, I'm going to give this a try because it was like, when is MAC going to have a really pale shade? I showed in the swatches. So before I talk too much, let's look at the swatches. We'll talk about it. All right, so I wanted to swatch most of the MAC foundations I have plus concealer for reference. So this first one is actually the concealer. It's the Studio Fix 24-hour smooth wear concealer, and that's in NC10. This range is basically supposed to be like a shade up, shade lighter than the foundation, the matching foundation color. So I thought it might be a good comparison for the next up shade in this new foundation. So this is the one that we're talking about today, MAC Studio Radiance Serum Powered Foundation in NC5. This is an old sample I have of MAC Studio Fix Fluid in NC10. My issue with this one is that it looks okay when I put it on initially, but it does oxidize like crazy, like a full shade darker for me throughout the day, which is why I just never bought it or wore it. This one previously was the palest shade that MAC carried in the foundation line, and this was a weird one. It's the Pro Longwear Nourishing Waterproof in NW13. Why this is light, so pale, no one will ever know. It's obviously a way different undertone. It's the NW instead of the NC. It's more pink, less yellow. So I could wear this fine, but you know, it's not my preferred undertone. And this is the MAC Studio Radiance Face and Body, and that's C0. It's obviously very sheer and quite a bit darker than like the NC5. This one is one of my favorite drugstore foundations. It's the L'Oreal Fresh Wear Infallible in 390 Snow. I find it to be very similar to 400 Pearl. There's not a lot of difference, but if I'm going to wear one, I'll go with one that maybe is a hair lighter. It is a little bit on the darker side, but that works. It's the undertone is just right for me, and I would rather have my face be a little bit darker than my neck than something that looks a little too stark and pale. It's just easier to work with for me. This is for something that is on the paler side, but still quite having good yellow undertones. This is the Clinique Beyond Perfecting in CN 0.5 shell. And last up here, I like to always include this just to kind of give you an idea of depth. This shade sometimes looks too pale on me, sometimes it looks fine. It is the Estee Lauder Double Wear in 0N1 Alabaster. So in the swatches, you saw the Nourishing Waterproof in NW13, which previous to this shade was the palest foundation shade that they carried. It made no sense why it was a 13 and it was so much lighter than like NC12 in that range. Very strange, very anomalous. But if you had pale skin and you wanted to wear a MAC foundation, well, that was about your only option. So this is definitely a lot lighter than everything else that they have. The NW13 of the Nourishing Waterproof is, like I mentioned, a totally different undertone, being that it's an NW instead of an NC. And so I do have those kind of cool pale yellow undertones. Not very strong, obviously, because I'm very pasty. And all of the things I swatched today, except for like the face and body, because I just don't like that formula, I can wear fine. So I do prefer light to medium coverage. I'm not trying to cover my freckles. I'm just trying to take down the redness in my face, which is why, like, especially why something with a little bit more yellow to it can be easier to wear, because it will kind of cancel out that redness without having to use as much coverage. And I am not looking to use much coverage. I'm 44 years old. And so I have a few lines, places where things will kind of bunch up and crease, and things tend to settle into my pores. And and dryness. Dryness, like flakiness, is the other thing that I struggle with. I have this type of dermatitis around my mouth, and in various locations, which means it's very often peeling. So anything that like really grabs onto flakes is not good for me. The first time I tried out this foundation, it grabbed onto a million different flakes that were around my chin. That's where I have that dermatitis. It's also where I get acne. And so as that heals, you know, there's peeling. It's just, it's a rough place on my face. I tend to use a little less moisturizer on the places where I do have acne, because when I use more moisturizer, it makes break out. It's like so frustrating trying to find this like super delicate balance of enough moisture so that my skin isn't dry, but not too much, because the line is so thin where I go too much and all of a sudden I've got little pimples all over the place. So the first day it was awful. So to yesterday, or the day before, I did the same like exfoliating with a washcloth deal, but for sunscreen, for prep, I used this Elf Skin Woe Glow Sun Touchable SPF 30. It says it's sun protection plus makeup primer. It does have a little bit of a tint to it. This is Sunbeam, I guess, and I'll show you. So it has a tint, but when you spread it out, it's not, I mean, it's really sheer. And I was concerned, so when I got it, what I was figuring, especially since it's got that yellow kind of packaging, I was figuring it was something like the Supergoop, the glowy SPF that they have, Glow Screen or something like that. I don't like that one at all, because it does leave my face greasy, and so makeup doesn't sit well on it. It like slides around on my face throughout the day. So I was a little concerned that that's what this was going to be, but for me, this like actually kind of soaks into my face, leaves it with kind of a glowy finish, but it doesn't look slimy or like shimmery, and it also seemed to actually kind of moisturize the dry spots. So when I wore this foundation yesterday, applied it the same way as I did where I'm showing you now. So the damp sponge is the best bet for me. I use the NARS Light Reflecting Setting Powder Pressed. That's my best powder I can use. And it looked lovely. It didn't settle into my pores. It didn't grab onto the dry patches. It was not moving around on my face all day, and it didn't seem to oxidize to any different color throughout the day, which was another concern just because I've had that issue with the Studio Fix Fluid. So I was really super pleasantly surprised. Like, we've got a lighter shade, and the formula I can actually make work on my face. My skin is very temperamental. I have a lot of problems with things getting patchy on my chin, especially throughout the day. Or, you know, like I mentioned, dry flakes sinking into pores, etc. But this really wore nicely, applied nicely. I wasn't struggling with it. Big fan. The shade is definitely an improvement on the NC5 from the Studio Fix Fluid, being that, you know, it's actually lighter than NC10, which is generally how that numbering scheme works. And I thought it was interesting when I went to look to see what the deal was with Studio Fix Fluid, like if it looked like they had changed that shade of NC5. And actually in the swatches, I'll probably show a little screenshot here, they show that NC10 now is above NC5 in like the ordering, which is bonkers, but I'm so glad that they did that, because otherwise it's just like so confusing and misleading. Very strange. And on my lips today, again, I thought another good reference point would be, I'm wearing the MAC Velvet Teddy lipstick, just so you can see like what Velvet Teddy looks like on me with this foundation, since it's a, you know, kind of an OG MAC lipstick shade, and a lot of people have it and know what it looks like. this is what it looks like with this foundation on my face. So yeah, I'm really pleasantly surprised. Finally, a MAC foundation that like I actually might look forward to wearing and want to wear and not be struggling with. Amazing. So yeah, I would definitely recommend this shade if you are pale. I think it's a little bit on the light end for what I can wear without it looking kind of odd. I think it's just like right on that line. I tend to go a little bit darker on my face than my neck just because I feel like it looks a little bit more natural for me. Naturally, my face is quite a bit darker than my neck because of the freckles and the redness. So I think just kind of bumping it up a little and evening things out usually is a little bit easier. So this is definitely on the paler end of things of what I think I can wear comfortably without feeling like I really need to like do my makeup. I had some sort of weird, I don't know if it was an allergy or what, if I got some skincare on there that I wasn't supposed to, but I had a bad reaction on my eyelids a few days ago. Like they were so swollen and sore and a little bit itchy sometimes, and it was bad. So I have not been wearing any eye makeup since then. And they seem to be all healed up, which is good, but I'm still a little bit nervous about putting anything on there again. Anyway, neither here nor there. So yeah, two things I'd recommend. Definitely this e.l.f. SPF. I don't know how it's going to work on other skin tones. If you are paler than me, don't have freckles, you know, you're looking for that very like creamy, pale finish. I don't know if this would add a little bit too much of a tint for you. I'm not really sure. But for me, I feel like it doesn't really affect too much what my face looks like. And it just, personally, for my very particular skin on my face, it seems to work really nicely with makeup and without makeup. Big fan. So yeah, let me know if you've tried it, if you plan on trying it, what shades work for you, what doesn't work for you, if you have any sort of input on that stuff. Always love to hear from you. Thank you so much for taking the time to watch this video. I do have another foundation that I'll probably be doing next, again with my Ulta points that I spent, and it's the Maybelline Superstay 24-hour skin tint in 102. I haven't even swatched this one yet, but 102 Fair Porcelain is a shade that historically I've been able to wear in their other lines, so I figured I would give this one a try. I don't know if this is going to be a formula that like grabs onto every dry flake and sinks into my pores or whatever. This like dropper style usually is not good for me, but we'll give it a try. I've seen other people like it, but that doesn't mean anything, because if I'm comparing my skin with somebody that has skin that like every single foundation looks good on, it's not really useful. Anyway, hope you're having a great day, and I'll see you soon.